So, I've had the Carby under here for a week. I think other things in life come up. There it is. I think this is not going to be so bad to install. I've got this fuel miser kit, XW to XA, HR to HJ, Leyland Rover V8, part number SB651. That's a fuel miser kit. And what you get in one of these kits is a Carby set, a gasket set, and some fuel bowl stuff and seals and needles and pins. And it's like, how do you know how to install this? Well, Fuel Miser's got you covered. There's a instruction. So that actually tells you how to put it on. You know, it might look complicated, it really isn't. It's the top plate, the mid plate, and the lower plate, and once you split those apart, then all these things are self-explanatory, and really you just want to end up replacing everything that's in the kit. You know, once every part in the kit's in the thing, then it's installed, isn't it? So, you know, not so hard. So, and to get onto that, I've got some brake cleaner to spray out the passages, and I've also got an air compressor to do the same. The brake cleaner is just to clean everything out. So right off the bat, a little bit of varnish. So we'll just spray that out. Yeah, you see all that shit that came out of there? That was pretty impressive. I'm going to use this cap here from the thing. Use it to hold some parts. Take that out. Fuel needle and seat. Oh yeah. Oh, okay. No, I need a rag. That's actually all settled down at the bottom. A whole bunch of dust and stuff in there. Instead of using brake cleaner, I'll just use some degreaser, which will loosen up all the sticky shit at the bottom. If you spray through that port, you can see the where some fuel would get through the passages. That'd be like the squirter jets there, and they look pretty clear, which is good to see. Then with all this degreaser all through it, you get some cotton buds and scrape. Oh yeah, I totally needed it. Every passageway you see just need to be swapped out. So, chase it with brake cleaner. I'm glad we didn't drop. It's actually a ball bearing. That's the accelerator pump there. When we did the SU carburetors of the Jaguar, those carbs didn't have accelerator pumps. They operated off the vacuum of the engine to suck fuel through. This is like a ball bearing in here is like a check valve for something. Looking a lot better. So we need to clean out the bottom of this bowl, because if we don't, that's going to be a lot of floaties and blocked passages in the future. So, which it was doing now because it wasn't actually pumping up fuel. So I've got this clock spring back on with all the washers, and I can feel some resistance. This is all adjustable, so you can actually spin this and lock it down with these screws. I've got it set to some resistance. I'm not sure if that's going to be the right resistance. It really isn't going to be. I'll look in the manual and see what that preset should be. But moving on, well, that's got a new gasket. Moving on, I thought we'd take out these bungs at the bottom here. So see that there are some seals in those, and taking these out, they're really crusty. So what I'm going to do, some cotton swab. So yeah, they're pretty gummed up too. You can see that where they go into those passages there as well, they're pretty munted. So you just have to keep cleaning. Nice and clean, and I want to look into here. according to this, we have the washers that go in there, which if we look in the kit, you know, if anything, these were the parts that were leaking. You know, I thought it might be leaking out of this gasket surface here, but I didn't actually see any washers come out of these when I took them out just now. So they're probably the culprits. The accelerator pump doesn't look like it's in bad condition. It looks like it would still work, but well, we've got a new one, so this shouldn't be too hard to install. So we take that circlip out, that down there, take this washer out, withdraw. So this washer has like a slip on it that you would imagine would index to this groove here, and you can take that off somehow. So I think this stays on, that doesn't come off. And it's this guy and its spring that needs to come off somehow. Take this, press it, put the whole stack down. Oh shit. Fuck off. Now with that reinstalled, I can check that off the list, and I'm going to take off this block here and see what's going on. And remember, I've never actually worked on a Stromberg carb before. Only ever Valiants, and a Valiant 2-barrel, whatever that was, Carter 2-barrel, and a single barrel Holden carb, I think a Stromy single barrel. Never done this carb before, so if I can do it, anyone really can. So that seems like a block of sorts. What am I exactly replacing here? And notice how I'm telling you I don't about nothing about the parts of the carb. That's how little I actually know how carbs work. You know, it's just it's called mechanical aptitude. So I guess that's where the experience with carburetors comes in, where you know to expect ball bearings, like don't invert the carburetor immediately, drop things. Okay, so that's dropped into there. Just for safekeeping, I'll put the old ball bearing, I'll put it in that cap. So that's been replaced. Oh, I just noticed this screw actually has holes in it. So you know where that goes. So nicely. There's a spring-loaded valve on the top of this. Oh, disgusting. I don't like that. It's like a very fine, it's a very fine dust in here. It's like a red dust, so I think this is another country car. And it's just clogged up. I think this fuel's contaminated. I think the fuel tank has got a lot of red dust gotten into it, and it's just clogging up everything. The bowl's starting to look clean with all these passes of degreaser, and all that just schmuck is lifting up, which is good. I didn't have the camera on because I couldn't bear the sight of seeing me screw this one up, but I got the spring for the float bowl back in. The spring is held captive under there, and I was really nervous, so I just really wanted to focus. Okay, so looking at the little pile of parts, I've got one ball bearing to install, which is going to be down here. Other than that, they're just like little circlips for all these linkages and things like that. Everything's clean. So what we can do now is, as we're assembling this, we can now install the last part, which is the new gasket. The carburetor is fully reconditioned with that kit. I had a little bit of issues with this linkage here though, as in the linkage end here for that actuates the accelerator pump when the throttle goes back. The end snapped off. I've never ever seen that before, it was located in the middle pin there, and it just snapped off. So what I had to do was, I got some fencing iron I found by a fence, and I've rebent it in the general shape of this, and then I've reconnected it down to this bottom hole here. And the effect of that, to get the accelerator pump at the right height, I looked at the old accelerator pump and its approximate witness mark, and I've bent this and I've bent this until I got a texture marking there to give me that mark so that it would return to its normal configuration. The one issue that I'm going to have to deal with though is the fact that the fuel quality is not great in the car, as in the petrol tank is filled with a lot of debris and it's full of rusty and stale water, sort of contaminating the fuel. So what I'll have to do is I'm going to have to run this electronic fuel pump, disconnect the mechanical fuel pump, and just run this electronic fuel pump into a container to pump all the fuel out of the fuel tank, so that when I reconnect all the lines, it's not just filling this up with rubbish fuel to clog up all the jets I've just cleaned. So I'm ready to install this back on and run this pump to purge the fuel. The carburetor is reinstalled. It's looking good. I've got some wires around at the moment because it's a bit of a snake pit. I've got this hooked up to the fuel outlet, so when I'm starting to crank it over, it will just pour somewhere away from me, out of my life. So we'll see how that goes. Just spray it over there. So the carburetor is rebuilt, it's reinstalled, it's nice and firmly on there. What I wanted to do next is I want to take this distributor off. I want to use this points file here to sand these points here. I'm going to sand the contacts underneath the dizzy cap with some sandpaper. Sand that up, sand the points. There's no reason why this shouldn't fire. I'll fill up the vent tube up here to fill the bowl of the carburetor to get it to fire. I think I've got a good feeling it'll start up really soon. Okay, the distributor is on. Fuel inlet is disconnected. I've filled up the vent tube. Just give it another splash of fuel for good luck. I'm going to recheck my timing and recheck the plug order. Let's give it a go. And that's it, battery cooked. Alright, try again when it's charged. And so that's where we're going to have to leave it for the time being. The carburetor rebuild was a success. When I fill up petrol into the vent tube, the bowl fills up, you squirt it, squirts fuel just fine. The accelerator linkage that we made to replace the one that snapped works fantastic. So we're getting fuel, we're definitely getting fuel. But the issue now is not the fuel supply, but the electricity supply, because I made a great discovery. While the leads might be fine, it's actually not getting spark. You see, that's where I found all these corroded points, just chalked with galvanic something. That lead snapped off. That one's quite clean, but that one is full of carbon debris for some reason. But the contacts inside of here, I can't sand out the carbon spots inside the cap here. Try as I might. And the more you sand, the more material you get off, and the wider the rotor button gap to the gaps here. But more gravely is the centerpiece that the rotor button actually rides upon has actually snapped off. I actually snapped it off. Handling it around the engine bay, this center post has snapped off. I've never had this issue before. I broke it. But watch out for the next episode where we deal with electricity and how we can actually power this thing up. So do stick around for that. Thank you very much for watching.